Hello, fine people. Hello, here we are. We are live for the second live on NLE Academy's YouTube. Welcome, everyone. Today we're going to be talking with Lori Bodenhamer. I'm going to bring her up in just a second. But really quickly, just right at the top, let's just get this out of the way. Just wanted to remind you guys, I've got a boot camp coming up. If you wanted to up your skills, we've got an Avid Basic Boot Camp coming your way on Saturday and Sunday, August 3rd and 4th. Hit that QR code. It's going to be great. You're going to learn all the basics of Avid. It's going to be awesome. Okay, enough of the promo. Let's get back to the real nitty gritty. Here we are. Let me bring to the stage the one, the only, Lori Bodenhamer.
Oh my gosh, what a reveal. Hi, Diana.
Hey, Lori, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, thanks for coming on. Lori used to be a television producer. In fact, she was one of my favorite all-time producers. I'm not just saying that because she's on the stage right now with me. It's true. Ask anyone. I say this anyway. One of my favorite all-time producers. It was for real, seriously. We started back in the Tech TV days together, and then Lori pivoted to being a financial advisor, and we're going to talk about all of that. But let's talk really quickly. Let's just reminisce for a couple seconds.
Okay.
Oh, and also I should say, sorry, Lori, I should say, if you're watching live out there in YouTube land, feel free to ask a question, leave a comment. I can see them. We can have Lori answer them live. Anything you got on your mind, you can feel free to say. And if I don't like it, I just won't show it. So here we go. Go ahead, Lori. Anyway, let us talk about
the good old TV days.
The good old days.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. I was just thinking, I remember the moment I met you. This is a few decades ago, and I was still pretty new producing wise. And I remember meeting you. You were a freelancer coming in. You're going to be my editor that day. And you introduced yourself. And I kind of missed the first part of your name. Like, what? You said your name, and you said, all I heard was like the princess. Like, oh my gosh. Okay. I know there's one main princess. Is it Diana? Diane. I couldn't remember the name of the princess.
It is, in fact, Diana J. Brody, like millionaire.
And then I went 95% pretty sure Diana. That was Diana, like the princess.
If you were new to producing back then in the good old days of Tech TV, and I don't know who out there in YouTube land remembers Tech TV, so fun, such a great gig. I loved working there.
And so many great people that we still are so connected with, and connected because we
still to this day. Yeah, it's funny. But if that was you just like early out of the gate, you were fantastic. You were right out of the gate, great producer. Yeah. Really fun. I was always stoked when I was assigned to your edit for the day.
I was always stoked when you were assigned to me for the day. I would always learn something. That was something really fun too. I would always learn something from my editors that I work with, and just to up my game a little more.
It was fun. I love that. I love the collaboration. And unlike things today, even though, by the way, I love work from home, I'm one of those people, but it was really like a unique situation where the producer was like right next to you the whole day. I had a producer. You would be in the morning. It would be you. In the afternoon, it might be Dave Lockhart. We don't know. It would be another, or Ryan Vance, or, it would be another producer in the afternoon. And they sat right next to the editor the whole time. That doesn't happen anymore. And probably for the best, but it was a unique.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun memories in those.
A lot, for sure. And then, right, Tech TV got sold. We all moved on. And go ahead, like run down a few of your your greatest hits for us?
My path of how I got
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Let's talk about your path because, as it says her name, Lori Bodenhamer up there, but what folks don't know is Lori is, of course, a certified financial planner. It even has the little R, circle
I
R,
just mark in there. Yep.
that's how you know it.
We have to put it there.
And she works for Abundo Wealth. So you can find them at abundowealth.com. I am not commissioned by Abundo at all for anything I'm doing here. I just love Lori and she knows her stuff. So that's, there's no kickback here. If there was a kickback, this would be live streaming from Rio. So
that's right.
Yeah. So let's talk about your path. How did you get from producer to financial planner?
Yeah, so the short version. So I started more in the creative side of production, field producing, post producing, and then for cable television, right? That was, remember cable? And then I moved to more towards the commercial side, advertising. And then also around that time shifted to more production management. So the operations side of production, the business side of production too. And so from creative to advertising and commercials. And then I was like, advertising and commercials, I'm ready for that, not that anymore. Went back to content when at that time it was then revision 3, which was kind of like the next version of Tech TV in a way, but for YouTube content. And so again, back to a little bit producing, but mostly also production management, so the operation side. And from there, it grew from revision 3, Discovery bought revision 3, then Group 9, we were spun into Group 9 Media, that was a large digital publisher. And then Group 9 Media was then purchased by Fox Media. So I had, during that time, basically the same job in a way. Started as production manager, ended at Seeker with head of production. And so I had kind of the same job ultimately, but with 5 different email addresses. Showing the progress of media consolidation, right? How all of the different players kind of shift around. And so during that time, it was about not quite 10 years ago. I feel like it was 8 or 9 years ago. A former Tech TV colleague of ours posted something on LinkedIn. It was a Frontline documentary. It was called, I looked it up. I wanted to look it up. It was called The Retirement Gamble. It was from a 2013 Frontline. And from this LinkedIn post, I went down the largest rabbit hole about personal finance. And so this was a doc about the fees in 401k plans, but ultimately the funds in 401k plans and how very costly a lot of these funds are. And from there, it lit a fire under me. It got me mad, first of all, that no one really has our back for this, right? There's all these fees that are embedded in these funds that are supposed to be our retirement savings. And then I was also in this rabbit hole, discovered the FIRE movement, with FIRE, Financial Independent Retire Early. It's this whole concept movement of basically you retiring early is just simply a math problem, right? Figuring out what spending you need if you didn't have an income, how much you really need to save. And there's all these to be ready to just not have to work, not depend on income to live your life. And so it just is this simple math just also opened the doors for me to understand and just really challenge how I was spending my money. Because the FIRE movement can also be a little aggressive for some, right? It's being like super frugal, like hardly spending anything. And that works for some. But for me, it was really, it really just turned on a light bulb for understanding where my money was going and being okay with it, that I was, spending more in this area, like travel is really important to me, as opposed to, all the money I was spending on lunches every day. And so just that little shift of where I was spending my money was just really opening my eyes to the power of taking control of my own money.
Mm.
And from there, it was not that production was necessarily, I was tired of it, but I just knew that had to be something next for me. And so really, instead of focusing on what might be, I wasn't really excited by where I was. You can really focus on where you're not happy at the moment. I really wanted to find something to be excited by, to kind of pull me out and be focused on. So I was focused on. I was thinking about personal finance and kind of looking at that as a career. And thinking like, wow, this has a lot of legs. Like I could be any age as a financial planner. That's nice. Mm-hmm. I can work from anywhere. I'm at home right now. So that's nice. So just the flexibility of the career, but also helping people is very rewarding.
Me being one of those people, as I am, as she was my producer, now she is my financial planner. This works out really good for me.
So I wasn't really sure what to do next, right? So then I started taking some like a career change course. There was just the University of UC Berkeley Extension was just across the street from my office downtown, which was nice. So I took a workshop about just like how to think about career change, and all the things the questions to ask yourself as you kind of embark on that. And that was a really helpful way to put a plan together for that next step. And then I put a plan together and set a date of when I was going to, take a sabbatical really and leave production. And I took some classes, right? Some personal finance classes for the certified financial planning route. I was like, this is really great. Met awesome people. Like, well, this is great. And so then I left my job and had a whole year planned of just, sabbatical really for a career break. And the pandemic hit, which, all my plans changed
radically immediately.
And I think for a lot of things, for this might have happened to a lot of folks, I was just accelerated then. Everything just condensed in time, stuck at home, right? So I was able to take more classes. So I just really leaned into the classes I was taking. And from there, I really wanted to focus on advice only. So not managing people's accounts, like in billing fees, but really just providing really quality financial advice to people who need it and might not have access to it. And so then I found Abundo Wealth, and it fit the bill. I didn't know this even existed, this model of advice only, where everyone pays the same thing. We only provide advice. We don't take over clients' accounts and bill fees, and we show people and empower people on how to, invest for themselves, manage their money themselves, so that they feel good about their money. That was a long.
No, that was great. That was great, though. That was literally a journey. It was a literal journey to get to where you are. And are you happy?
Yeah, this is Abundo Wealth is a fantastic place to be, and I'm very happy.
Yeah, and a well-timed pivot. You couldn't have anticipated the downturn of what's going on in the industry right now, but a very well-timed pivot for you, because boy, oh boy, I'll say, man, things are really, really slow. This is the slowest it's ever been in my career, and I've been a freelance editor for 28 years.
Yeah.
So
sounds really hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think even the brand that I worked at doesn't exist anymore. Right.
No, they're gone. Yeah.
Yeah. So, doing that pivot at that time, just was a good point in my life to do that. And it worked out.
Yeah. Well timed. So, and then this leads us into why you're here. Right. So let's talk about, some financial tips for tough times, right? Let's talk about what do you have for us? Because man, it is, and we're hurting out there for real. This is not a joke. It's a real serious thing that's going on. So hit us with
how to approach
how to approach it. Right. Yeah. Thank you. Minor brain freeze there.
Doing it live. We just don't know what's going to happen.
At that. That's the excitement of life, man.
What's going to happen? So starting with a cash reserve. So hopefully, you have a cash reserve, a savings account of money that at least is sustaining you right now for just that the reduction of income that's happening. And if you do have that savings account, let's make sure that it's at a high yield savings account.
Right.
And so the making sure that it's not in the brick and mortar bank that you might have, like Wells Fargo or Chase, not paying very much at all.
Should we do you want to look at that slide while we're talking about this?
Yeah. So this is one thing. So just making sure your money is working hard for you. So this is one of the basic principles of making sure your money's making money. And if it's at the brick and mortar banks, like these common ones that hardly paying anything, right? If it's in your savings account. So really thinking about, if you do have that some saved cash, put it to work. And so here are just some ones that we like to recommend, and just their the most recent interest rates, over 4%, right? So cash is earning a good interest rate than we were saying in the past. And so this is pretty good. So for example, $10,000 in savings for a year, that's over $400 of just extra income that your money is making money for you. So that's what making sure you have that in a high yield savings account. And then the next big step is understanding your spending. So this is key to just all financial success, is understanding where your money's going. And so there is, if you don't have a system already, this is a great time to start thinking and start finding that system. So really digging into where your expenses are, knowing what your minimum that you need in a month to survive, like just between mortgage or rent or utilities and groceries, like the key things. Health insurance is really important. Costs that you can't change and you can't do anything about. Really understand what that minimum is, like what is that amount that you need, and then digging into the expenses and the transactions for what you have the most control over, which is usually dining out or travel or all the entertainment costs that we have. But just really understanding what those are. Not that you have to cut them all. We want to live our lives, but really understand the levers, the areas that you have the control over for those, and finding a system to track it over time. So to make sure you're within what you need to do. This is also building a budget, right? Really having a budget plan for that. And so then there's what are those tools? So yeah, thanks, Dana. That was a great time.
Hey.
So there's some free tools out there. There's less free tools than I wish, but there's
there used to be more free tools. I'm pretty sure. I remember more free tools.
Yeah, Mint was my go-to free tool, and now that's no longer. They moved it to Credit Karma. So the free tools to start with, just good old Excel, Google Sheets, maybe numbers, depending on if you have a Mac, right? Of putting all those transactions together, that's simple as exporting them from your credit card, exporting them from your checking account, putting them all together. If you love spreadsheets and this is the best ever to organize them, I love that, because you get to actually control it from the beginning to the end and how you want to track it. And then another one is, it's kind of a deep cut one, is Empower dashboard. It used to be called Personal Capital, but Empower also is an account aggregator. And so you're able to then also see your transactions and see categories. And then the paid tools are Rocket Money. Actually, it has a free version. So it's kind of hidden, but you can, and I'm not sure, at one point the free version was limited on how many accounts you can connect, but I think they got rid of that. I'm not sure. So Rocket Money is a good one to look at. You need a budget. YNAB is one. It's a little hard it takes some time to get used to that one, because it's something called zero-based budgeting, meaning assigning every dollar income somewhere. And then Monarch Money, which is one that is one that Abundo, it's our favorite one to recommend to people, and it's great for couples too, because you can have two people part of an account as well. The key to this, oh yes, Diana.
Oh no, go ahead.
The key to this is really, deciding on your categories, right? You don't want to have too many categories that you can't keep track of. You don't want to have too few that they're just big lumpy sums of money that you can't really still see. But the first step is really then categorizing those transactions. They learn after a while what one vendor means. They don't, doesn't code it to a different category. Yeah, that's the key, is understanding where your money's going.
Cool. Okay. And I was going to ask you too, what about QuickBooks? I didn't see QuickBooks up there. I feel like that's a popular one. I use QuickBooks, but I use it just for invoicing because I don't know how to use QuickBooks. So I only know the invoicing thing, and that's how I do my invoicing. But I feel like knowing it would be helpful, although I've got all the tools through Abundo. So
yeah, that's true. So QuickBooks, so great for freelancers because to be able to keep track of different expenses for your business, being able to invoice. The QuickBooks for business, I feel, is pretty dense too, but it's an account aggregator that works. So if you already have QuickBooks, and I think they might have a consumer version that it may be lower cost. I don't have.
I think so, and I think it's online now. I feel like I remember David Spark talking about him using it. He's another Tech TV alumni, and where he sends everything. He'll take a picture of receipt, just send it right to QuickBooks. So seems like that'd be handy.
Yeah, so there's QuickBooks. I think they have a consumer version that's maybe even cheaper. It's, again, you're looking for something that's going to bring in, you can connect your accounts, your checking account, your credit cards, the places where you're spending money, so that you bring in the transactions, so you're able to track them and categorize them and actually see over time how you're tracking and what your actual real costs are. It's really key.
Right. So, and to remember too, I mean, when I started doing this, which I would never have done this without Lori. When I started doing this, the categories, it's like none of the categories are right. You got to go in and you got to tell it, but then it starts to learn where stuff goes, and it becomes more intelligent as things go along.
Yeah. Every tool has its own little curve to get the accounts in, train it a little to say, no, this is actually gas. No, this is actually whatever. So it takes a minute, but it pays off, and for the rest of your life, having this habit is key.
Yeah,
because at any point, it also sees what you can save then. So the big key too, especially at this time, maybe your income has been reduced over this time. The key is is to know what you need to spend. And also so that you know how long your savings will last. So that, again, it comes down to seeing math, a little trajectory of, okay, I have this cash, I need to bring in either this amount of income to survive and live off of, or you really are now in control of where your money's going and know what you can dial down or dial up depending on what your income is. It's key.
Right on. And then, what else can folks do, right? What else? I know you and I were talking about whether I could get unemployment, which I cannot currently as a freelancer. It's been too long since my last W-2 gig, but talk to us a little bit about that. And also, we talked about if folks have student loans out there too.
Yeah. So for the student loan piece, so if you still have a student loan, it might be, and you have reduced income at this moment, it might be a good time to recertify your income and bring it down, because it doesn't have to, something I learned, it doesn't have to be your income was for the whole year. It's what your income is right now. And if your income right now is, zero or greatly reduced, you can recertify at that amount, which can bring down, if you're on an income-based repayment plan, could potentially bring down what your payment is currently. So that's something to
by a lot, and to think about this too for I know at least in California, if you're on Covered California, you can go in if you're not making any money and drop your income down, and that will lower your cost, your monthly cost for your healthcare. So
Yep,
think about that too if times are really
definitely.
tight.
Yep. And then if you do have another job later, that's one that does look at the income for the whole year. And so, but you could, yeah, exactly, for helping with payment now. And then when you're due file your return, that's when, if there's any credits, they all equalize out, like, oh, this, you might still owe something based on that if you did have income that came.
Right.
So so what you mentioned, Diana, about the W-2 income. So I know this is in California. I'm not sure for all states, but for if you were a freelancer, but you're in California, it's very common for a lot of companies to go through a third-party payroll company and have still them on, people on, contractors still on W-2. So if that gig has gone away, and you can go to the California unemployment, EDD, and submit a unemployment claim because you had W-2 income. It's based on a certain amount of income at that point, at that time. Go through the requirements to make sure that it still applies for you, because how they base what that income for the year is may or may not work for how your income was, but something to look into, potentially unemployment.
Yeah.
Work.
And there's the old chestnut, right? While you're not working, get out there and network.
That's right. Yeah, networking. So this is something that I actually learned in one of the career change workshop that I took. And it was a great piece of advice that I remember, was like, networking, like, everyone's like, oh, I don't want to network. But if you just kind of reframe it as just simply asking for directions, because people everywhere like to help, right? If someone stops to ask you something, like, oh, where's the thing? And you're like, oh, I know where that is. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Or, people like to help people. Right. So if you kind of reframe networking with that, and when you talk to people or meet people, it's kind of, it could be an easier way to actually start networking, or at least make networking not as, painful, because it can be hard.
And, I don't have a link. I wish I had a link to share with you guys, but Michael Franks from Dauntless Filmmakers, if you're one of the people like I am who just is like, oh God, I got to network. And then you're just like, oh, damn it. If you are one of those people, he will have an entertainment industry networking webinar to just breaking it down so it makes so it makes networking a whole lot less painful. He's really good at it. Keep an eye open. I'm sure he's going to post in the forums, on the Facebooks and all of that. So keep an eye out for that. He's got a webinar coming up in mid-August. So keep your eyes out for that. He's like a savant in the networking. I covet his networking abilities.
It's hard to do, but it's important.
It's very important. It's important. It feels soul sucking, but I like your analogy, Lori. I like just thinking about it, asking directions. Hey, do you know where a job is? How can I find where that job? Go to the stoplight, make a left. I will do that for a gig. I will do that.
Do you know anyone who do you know anybody who, it's just,
right.
Do you know anyone?
And you never know. You never know. It's sometimes the most banal conversation that you have that you think, oh, that was, what was I even saying? I should have just shut up long ago. And then that turns into someone is like, oh, they referred me to someone else. And you're like, oh, wow, I barely even talked to them, kind of thing. So it's worth it. Definitely.
Yeah.
There's also, right. I know, Lori, you and I talked about this, continue to grow your skills. This is the best time. This is the best time to level up your skills. I mean, it's hard because you're like, well, I don't have a lot of income, but at the same time, I have a lot of time. And so Lori and I were just talking about that the other day for a thing I paid for to level up my skills, letting my financial planner know the money that went out the door. But don't forget about that. And, not for nothing, I got a skills build coming up. Take my Avid boot camp.
This is so key. This
The
is so
Avid
cool.
bootcamp's coming up, doubles your income. If you don't know Avid, this opens up the opportunity, yeah, to double your job opportunities.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure. It's so important. And also, yeah, I mean, leveling up your skills is so key, especially when you have some time, but also following your curiosity for
Right.
something. You have time to like, oh, I'm been really interested in this one thing that I had never had the time to dig into or learn more about. And then maybe that is a thing that you now can have some income from, or you're excited to actually find some ways that this could be now a new career pivot for you if you needed to, but just to follow your curiosity. Maybe take a class in something that you haven't been in a way that you haven't had time to do before. Volunteering. I actually volunteered at preparing taxes for families, and so I not only learn a ton, but it's just a really interesting thing to do. Or a part-time gig somewhere that you maybe you weren't sure that it was something that you could do or wanted to do, but then why not? You have time. You can always just not, it's a part-time gig.
Go try it.
Go try it.
Yeah. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're at the half-hour mark. I want to try and keep these to about a half hour. That went by super quick.
So fast.
Honestly. Listen, here's my info. If you're out there and you're wondering, you're in the business and you're wondering what next steps you can take, what skills you have might be transferable, how to pivot your career, and you want to talk to me, send me an email. I'll send you a link to hop on my calendar, and we'll discuss it, because I'm here for you and I have a lot of time right now. So do that. Also, if you're like, I don't have time to take a weekend long boot camp, but you are interested in Avid, maybe you know a little bit about Avid, and you know too much to really have a boot camp be accessible to you, you can download the Avid guide that I have of all the must-know settings for Avid. So I edit on Premiere and Avid. I will be adding Resolve to the mix of things, so keep an eye out for that coming up. I know, I'm very excited to learn Resolve. I know just enough to be dangerous. But if you're someone who only knows Premiere and you want to have the job opportunities that Avid affords, this Avid guide will get you the basics of the settings. Nobody goes over settings. You can look all over YouTube. No one's going to give them to you in one place. So get this guide. You're going to want that guide. But there we go. I mean, look, you take classes. If you were thinking about a pivot, go ahead, like what Lori just said, try it. Dip your toe in that water, see if that will work for you, because you never know. And we got a lot more time on our hands. Eventually, things will pick up. So, it might look like now that it will carry on forever, but eventually things are going to pick up, and then you won't have time.
Yeah.
So take advantage. Go ahead, Lori.
Those storytelling skills are so key.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Technology may change, but telling that story, working with people to collaborate together on projects, these are not skills I don't see going away.
Right.
And those not only transfer anywhere. Oh my gosh, there's the production skills that you've created in this industry are so transferable. But for when work does come back, to life, you're going to be ready, not only with your skills, but also just as a creative storyteller, which is so key.
I love it. I love it. And on that note, let me remind you, we've all been talking with Lori Bodenhamer, CFP, from Abundo Wealth. I could have put that all on one banner, but I didn't, because I like clicking things. I don't think we've got no questions came up this time around, but glad to have had you, Lori, on. Thank you so much. I hope everybody got something out of this. And we'll do another live stream with some more stuff later on. So keep an eye out. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button, hit like, all that, leave a comment, all the stuff that they tell you to do. Do that. That sounds good. And so thank you, Lori.
That was so fun, Diana. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you so much. And I thank all of you out there for watching, whether you're watching live, you're watching later. Thank you so much, and have a good day.